morning. I am gonna declutter my books today. Quick context, I live in Napa, California, and we will be relocating within the next few months to Denver, Colorado for work-related reasons. I own about a gazillion books. Before we move, we need to sell this house, and our realtor suggested that we do our decluttering and get everything that we don't need packed up so that the house looks open, because it's a small house. And my books take up a lot of space. Books are heavy, and moving books is costly, so I'm gonna have to make some tough decisions today. I told my husband I would reduce them by a third, basically one Billy bookcase. I have 3 IKEA Billy bookcases behind me. One whole bookcase I want to get rid of. I could try and get rid of some of his books, but he doesn't have very many, so I'm really going to focus on mine. And so today I'm going to take you along for the ride because this is going to be emotional for me. I decluttered my washi on a live stream. I'll leave that linked up above, and that actually was more cathartic than I thought it would be, but this is going to be tough, I think. I've already done this once recently when we moved all the books into the house, and I got rid of quite a few books. So this is going to be like the second culling. So down here I have a couple of boxes. We don't know what house we're buying yet, so I don't really know how to divide the books, except that I know that there are some books that will go into my new office. So there'll be office books that I'm packing up because I don't need them out right now. And then other books, they're just books going to the new house. I have plenty more boxes once these get full. And then this is where I am starting. This Imperfect Foods box is the start of the donation books box. I have some bins and things I'll use for that too. I'm not going to use my moving boxes for that. My goal is, when I'm done with this, to have the bookshelves look the way I want them to look when the house is staged. That's the goal. I'm going to take a quick second here and kind of explain my methodology. I'm not doing like a Marie Kondo thing. I'm not going to hold each book and ask whether it brings me joy, because to be perfectly honest, most books bring me joy, even if I've never read them. But I'm going to give you a little bit of context here so you can understand sort of how I'm making the decisions I'm going to make. I am a rereader. I love to reread books, and there are certain books that I know for a fact are books I will continually go back to. Looking at one right here. This is Jaws, the Peter Benchley book. I love this book. I love how different it is from the movie, and it holds a lot of fond memories for me, and I have reread the shit out of this book, so I will definitely be keeping this book because I know I will reread it again. It's in good condition. It's an old hardback, blah, blah, blah. When it comes to like my fantasy series, there are series I know I reread, like A Song of Ice and Fire and A Wheel of Time. Books that I know I will reread are books I'm going to hang on to. Books I haven't read yet, but I really, really want to read, I will likely hang on to unless I think that I can just get the Kindle version. Another thing I will be doing is if there's books that I've read that I liked that I will likely reread again, but don't know when, they're not one of my usual suspects, I'll probably get rid of those. I'm going to be keeping a list on my phone of books that I am decluttering that I would like to add to my Kindle library at some point. When it comes to my books, I am really emotionally attached to the stories and emotionally attached to all that, but there are not very many books on these shelves. The actual physical book itself is something I am emotionally attached to, with a few exceptions. For one, my Stephen King books. I'm not going to get rid of any of them because he's my favorite author and I love those books and I reread all of them. But if I were going to, if I had to be really harsh, the ones I would save would be the paperback copies that are the older ones. I collect those, although they're not in great condition because I read them, but I just like having them. A good example is this one. This is a copy, you can see how worn out it is. This is a copy of The Shining that is actually shiny. So like I have a handful of these, Salem's Lot, Misery, what else? Ooh, I don't remember. Carrie. The paperback copies from the 80s that are like special, I would hang on to those. And then like in some cases, I do have a few copies of books that are very, very emotionally relevant for me. This one is a great example. This is my copy of Animal Farm. It's a hardcover. It's all fucked up, like the pages are falling out and like it's been colored on with crayon, but this was my dad's copy of Animal Farm. He loved this book. He gave it to me. I love this book, and I will never get rid of this copy. I will be giving this to one of my kids one day. So yeah, that's kind of the way I'm going to be going through these. I think I just keep explaining myself so that I don't have to start. So maybe I should just get started, right? This first Billy bookcase is the one I'm going to start with because I think it'll be the easiest to declutter. This is where my Stephen King books, those 2 bottom shelves are my Stephen King books, my fantasy novels, more fantasy novels, and my comic books. And I already have an idea of what I'm decluttering here. This will not be the bulk of what I remove. That will be this middle shelf. But I do know that there are some books here I'm going to be willing to get rid of, and then there are other books that I could probably pack up. We have our first group of things that are getting donated. Just put all of my Stephen King paperbacks, and I started moving some of my fantasy paperbacks to the same box. I realized I have multiple copies of A Game of Thrones and A Storm of Swords, 2 of the books in the Song of Ice and Fire series. So 2 of these paperbacks are going to get donated. Loki wants in. I should have mentioned that one of the things that I am going to avoid is keeping multiple copies of the same book, or like a hardcover and a paperback of the same book. The one big exception is A Storm of Swords, because I have my paperback copy. I have actually 3 copies of it right now. So 1 paperback copy is going into the first books in the donate box, Game of Thrones and Storm of Swords. I'm keeping a paperback copy to read, and I'm keeping my hardcover because I'll show you. Everything is hella dusty because I don't keep clean. This is the original copy of A Storm of Swords when it came out in 2001, because I'm a hipster. And you see this? Normally I wouldn't keep a book that's this destroyed, but the reason this book is so destroyed is because I threw it at the wall after the Red Wedding. And so I'm going to hang on to it for the memories. However, it's not High Loki. He's going to get donated to, apparently. This is really difficult to read, but I'm hanging on to it because it has sentimental value to me. But there aren't very many books like this that are unreadable, but I want to hang on to them anyway. I guess I should also add that this is the perfect time to declutter the Harry Potter series. If you want to know my feelings about the Harry Potter series, you can watch my regrets of 2020 video. I'll link it up above. We loved reading these books. I don't think any of us are going to read them again anytime soon. I've got this Creature Vault Harry Potter book that's going to go in the box as well. I don't know where they all are. I have all of them, but they're not all on my shelf, so I'm sure I'll come across them at some later point. I also wanted to take a quick mention of these 2 paperbacks that I have started one of them but haven't finished either of them, and they are books I really want to finish, and I am sure, much like many of my other fantasy books, I will want the physical copies of them, so I'm hanging on to these. That is Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings and Scott Lynch's The Lies of Loch Lamora. We've got some other books here that I'm going to hang on to. This is the Tolkien Companion. This is Jesse's book, and I know he's going to want to hang on to it. We've got some of my favorite King Arthur style books, The Once and Future King, The Death of King Arthur, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, plus a few other favorites that kind of go with this, The Giver, The Princess Bride, and The Nibelungen Lied. So these are all going to just go in the same box. I've got I Am Legend and a bunch of short stories by Richard Matheson. This is one of my favorite horror stories of all time. The movies have just never done it for me, so I'd never get rid of this. As a matter of fact, I did get rid of a copy of this once, and then I bought it again because I was like, why did I get rid of that? Got Anansi Boys and American Gods, which are Jesse's books, but that I want to read. And then finally a book that I feel extremely conflicted about, but I'm just not ready to give up. And that is The Mists of Avalon. I love King Arthur stories. This is told from a female perspective. I fucking love this. As you can see, I have read the ever-living shit out of this book. My aunt gave me this copy and she passed away. But I heard about how awful Marion Zimmer Bradley was. I'm not going to go into it. You can totally Google it. This is one of those books that like I am conflicted on, but I'm not ready to get rid of it yet. If I was, I'd probably just throw it away, as this copy is like decrepit. However, I'm just not ready for that yet. And then to cap this box off is I'm not a huge fan of, I love Stephen King, I'm not a huge fan of Dean Koontz. However, Intensity, I love this book. This book is rad. I learned about it when they did the TV movie starring the guy from Scrubs and loved it. Ever since, this has been a reread for me. This is one of those really fast rereads for me that I absolutely love. And that is one full box of books, and I've only decluttered, you know what, let me feel good. I got this box of books packed up, but I need to declutter. I need to declutter a little bit more before I keep moving on. Well, I already know some books I'm decluttering, so let me grab those. The Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind. I knew I was going to be decluttering these. I loved this when it first came out, and then I quickly started hate reading it, and then I hung on to it only so that when I had friends over, when I was drunk, I could read them scenes like The Chicken That Is Not a Chicken. Not a good reason to hang on to a bunch of books or move them to Colorado. And so that winds up being, it looks like 4 paperbacks and 3 hardcovers. I'm decluttering my Anne Rice books because I actually don't like Anne Rice books that much. I sort of like them. Those are books I'm actually going to add. The Vampire Chronicles are books I'm going to add to my list because I probably will want to go back to them one day, but I don't need to pay to move them to Colorado. That's basically like the situation here, right? Like, do I want to pay to move it across multiple states? And then to wrap this shelf up, I'm going to take the Divergent series, which I just reread the first 2, and have no interest in going back into the 3rd, which makes me think that I don't need to keep this series around. plus this one, Sarah J. Maas' Court of Thorns and Roses. I got this because a bunch of people love to read it. But this is one of those books where if I want to read any of these books, I'm just going to get them online. I don't need to own a copy of it. I haven't read it yet, and I'm not itching to, so definitely a donate. And then rounding out this bookcase, I have a handful here. The Haunting by Shirley Jackson, a book of Edgar Allan Poe stories, and Bram Stoker's Dracula. All books I love. They're classics, but they are all also books I can check out from the library. So I'm going to put those in there. And then this one is John Dies at the End, which is one my brother-in-law bought for me for Christmas a couple years ago, and I just have never been able to read it. So this is one I'm going to put on my list to come back to, but it's going to go in the donate box. Let's take a quick look at where this entire situation is. The cat's trying to get in. Hi, Lucy. Hi. And Loki's up there. I still have to go through my comic books to decide which ones I'm going to hang on to. This shelf is cleared off except for this box, which is an important box to me, so I'll be going through that in a bit. These are the hardcovers I'm hanging on to. This is basically my entire Wheel of Time plus a couple of Song of Ice and Fire stuff thrown in. And then down here we have the Passage trilogy, which I love, and another like compilation. And then that book of The Name of the Wind is actually one we borrowed from somebody, so I can't get rid of that one. And then all my Stephen King hardbacks that need to get packed up. And then this bookcase is taken care of. I'm thinking about leaving the hardcover Wheel of Time books out and maybe the Passage books out to adorn the bookcases as part of the staging process. All these copies of the Max. I loved reading this, but I don't intend to ever read them again. So these are going to go in donate. Hella more stuff about the Max. Just Max for days. I'm just grabbing my massive pile of graphic novels. And hi, Loki. You are in my box. He thinks he's helping, but he's not helping. Lulu. Loki. I need this box. I need this box. Sometimes he pees in boxes too. I know from this pile the ones I'm going to want to hang on to. Off the top of my head, Strangers in Paradise, The Dark Knight Returns, and those ones. And the Johnny the Homicidal Maniac and Squee situations. And then the other ones I think I'll get rid of, but we'll see. So getting rid of Transmetropolitan, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Strangers in Paradise we're hanging on to, Batman, 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 Batman. We'll hang on to the Watchmen. Ooh. We'll hang on to the Tick. Strangers in Paradise. Sin City can go. Transmetropolitan can go. The Crow can go. Batman. The Tick. Whoa, Loki. Squee. Oops. Sorry, kitty. Squee. And Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. So those are the donate, those are the take. And then this is the last pile of like random books that aren't my fantasy books that I know I'm keeping. My Fangoria. I love this. I'm keeping that. Fangoria was one of my favorite magazines ever. Getting rid of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm super keeping this book. This was one of my favorite books as a kid and I fucking love it. It is super dark. Oh my god. One day I'll have to read it for you. Nope. We'll keep the scary stories to tell in the dark, and this book of lore, which was a gift, I think we'll donate that one. So that leaves these books. I'm going to pack up the Stephen King and probably leave the rest of, maybe not the paperbacks, but leave the rest of these out and just redistribute them. And as you can see here, this is my second box of books. I grabbed a couple more boxes for donations, and I haven't even started an office box yet, so I just cannibalized this one, and we'll get to the office books. Those ones are mostly going to be from this shelf over here, but I'm not there yet. And then there's the kitties trying to figure out how they can help. And if you're wondering what that weird looking pillow is that Lulu just bounced off of, that gray thing, that's what I call my gouty pillow. It's to keep my feet elevated. When my gout is really bad, it's very helpful. Okay, so I am getting rid of this book, I, Eliza Hamilton. I started reading it and really wasn't a fan, and I hung on to it in case I would read it again, but I don't think I'm going to take it. This box is packed up. I'm going to put some paper in it because it's going to be pretty heavy. As you can see, I've got this shelf styled, sort of. I don't know. I'll just do it until somebody gives me a different hardcover Robert Jordan books. Those rocks are from Long Island. Some historical fiction and history and some art books. I just thought they'd look good together with Shel Silverstein. And then I have 2 more shelves empty to deal with, and I'm going to pack all those hardcovers up. And then we are moving on to this middle shelf. I'm on the floor. I'm going to work down here for a little while. I have all my Stephen King hardcovers packed up except for this giant behemoth of The Stand. This is the uncut edition and it weighs about 100 pounds. I think I'm going to buy this on Kindle. I'm pretty sure I have a paperback copy floating around the house somewhere, but like this is ridiculous. And I don't think I'd even read with as bad as my tendinitis is now. I don't think when I want to reread The Stand, I'm going to go for a hardcover of it. And then I have a stack of hardcover Stephen King. They're not books. They're not him. They're like books that analyze him or whatever, but they're all from like the 80s and they have the internet now. So I'm just going to pack all of those into the donate bin and move on with it. So now I'm on the bottom here, which you cannot see because I'm not going to move the camera again. I'm just going to go through these and talk through it because this is going to be hard and fast, just like I like it. Bottom shelf here has a bunch of books I enjoyed when I was a kid. I am going to keep my hardcover Flowers in the Attic because fuck yeah, I'm going to keep this. But all of my V.C. Andrews books, I have all of them through the Ruby series, I'm going to get rid of, and when I want to reread them, I will just get them on Kindle or I will rent them. But that is a bunch of V.C. Andrews books, and as much as I love rereading them, I basically know them by heart at this point. So like stacks of V.C. Andrews books. Stacks, I tell you. Yet another stack. The other half of this bottom shelf is all books I mean, I guess so are the V.C. Andrews books, but these are all books I loved. I'll see how many of these you can recognize if you, like me, were a child of the 80s and early 90s. These are all books I love. I wonder where the other one of these is. 6th Grade Can Really Kill You, but I know that the other one is... I'm basically, by the way, I'm going to declutter all of these. Again, if I want to read them, I can get them on Kindle or check them out from the library. What is the other one? 5th grade. Nothing's Fair in 5th Grade. This is the sequel to that, and I don't know where the original is, but I've had it. Got The Wizard of Oz, which is real easy to check out from the library. A Wrinkle in Time, The Secret Garden. There's some Ramona books, the sequel, Ellen Tibbetts, bunch of Judy Blume books, Alice in Wonderland. I think I might hang on to that one. Deanie, that's the one with the girl with scoliosis. The luckiest girl. This is the teenage Judy Blume book where she moved to California, and I remember thinking to myself, this is not what California is fucking like. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, otherwise known as Sheila the Great, The Witches, The Cat Ate My Gym Suit, and there's, I'm saving that one, and there's A Bat and Buck 5. I love that fucking book. Ramona the Pest, and then we've got this one, which was my kids, but they didn't want it anymore. 15 by Beverly Cleary, Charlotte's Web, starring Sally J. Friedman as herself, and Harriet the Spy. All of these books are getting donated. Put out books like this that a bunch of people just picked through for their kids, and I hope to do the same thing because give them away for free for kids who need reading materials during the pandemic especially. All right, the next shelf is like more modern popular fiction, I guess is kind of how I did it. Now some of these books I got in like a value pack. I was trying to support a local bookstore and they had like packs of books that you didn't know what was in them, but they had a theme, and this one was romance, and I don't think I'm gonna get around to reading some of these, so I'm just gonna donate them. Peony in Love and Ahab's Wife. But I am going to hang on to The Time Traveler's Wife because this is one I really want to read, and I think I might actually not pack that one and hang on to it for when we drive. Landline by Rainbow Rowell. This was another one that came in that pack. I started reading it and just wasn't into it. I think my mother-in-law gave me this book, The Invention of Wings. I'm not really feeling it, but I will keep my hardcover copy of The Devil Wears Prada because God damn it, I love this book. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. We can get rid of that one. I've read it, but I'm not really feeling like reading it again. We've got some Diary of a Mad Bride, a Nora Ephron book. Nope, not keeping those. I'm gonna keep Gone Girl. Ugly Love, I read this and really disliked it, so getting rid of that. 13 Reasons Why, kind of want to keep that because that was an excellent book. If I Stay, I'm gonna be done with that one even though I liked it. I don't think I'm gonna read it again. This Before I Fall book I've read a few times and liked it, but I can put it back. Keeping, I'm thinking of ending things because there's one day I'm going to want to reread this book and I'm not really there yet right now. I'm moving right along, guys. I'm almost done with this shelf. All right. My Sister's Keeper, the book that makes me cry. I'm going to pass that on. Here are 2 of the 3 Crazy Rich Asians trilogy books. The third one's in Kat's room, and I'm keeping these because I love the shit out of these. But Kevin Kwan's other book, Sex and Vanity, I couldn't finish, so I am getting rid of that. The Language of Flowers, I read this for a book club. It was an excellent book, but it's not really one I feel like reading again. Solutions and Other Problems by Ali Brosh. Keeping this, but I'm going to keep that one out because I think that will be a good one to display. We got my Amy Tan books. I haven't read The Bonesetter's Daughter and I haven't really felt like it, but I am going to keep The Joy Luck Club and The Kitchen God's Wife. These are books I have reread on more than one occasion. Here is a handful of the Charlaine Harris Sookie Stackhouse novels, The True Blood, the story that True Blood was based on. These are great, but if I want to read them again, I will check them out from the library. And then these are Jesse's books, The Bro Code and Perks of Being a Wallflower. We'll hang on to Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I'm going to set The Bro Code aside because I would declutter that, but for some reason, Jesse gets all irritated if I declutter his shit, but he never gets around to decluttering his own shit, and I'm not irritated. I'm not irritated at all. So I'm just cleaning these 2 shelves because now they are empty and I have easily gotten rid of, I'll show you in just a second because I have one more shelf I want to get through before I stand up again. I think I'm definitely going to meet my goal of doing at least 1 Billy bookcase. I need to keep my blood pressure cuff out, but I'm going to figure out a way to do it where it's not visible. This next shelf is actually the harder one for me when it comes to pop fiction. This is stuff I have read a whole bunch of times. It's just a question of whether or not I want to read it again. So we'll start with the James Patterson books. I really love the Alex Cross novels, but I stopped reading them once I hit Violets Are Blue, when that book was over. And if you've read the novels, you know about the big revelation in that book. And I've reread them again. But I think I am just going to pass them on because it's a lot of books and I can always check them out from the library. So we've got basically all of the James Patterson books, all of the Alex Cross novels through Violets Are Blue. One of them in hardcover, which is, I think I have it in hardcover and in paperback, which is very weird because it's not even Cat and Mouse. It's not even my favorite one. Dan Brown, I've got the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. These are both good times reads, but I don't anticipate, they're not a reread. I can't remember ever rereading them, so probably not. Alive by Piers Paul Reed. This is the story of the Andes rugby survivors. Love the shit out of this book. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I enjoyed it, but I'm not going to read it again. Sleepers. Oh, this book is a hard book to read. I'm going to be done with that one. I've got Michael Crichton? Question mark? I'm keeping Jurassic Park. I love this book. This is the book that made me want to go into genetics. I think a lot of people watched Jurassic Park and wanted to be paleontologists. I read Jurassic Park and wanted to be a geneticist. But the rest of these, Congo, The Lost World Timeline, which is a terrible book, and Sphere, these are all great books, but I'm just going to take Jurassic Park with me. And then I've got a couple of John Grisham books, The Client and A Time to Kill, and these I have reread multiple times, and I think I'm going to hang on to them, because even though I could check them out from the library, if you look at the state of them, I have obviously read the shit out of them. Same with my Thomas Harris books, The Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, and Red Dragon. I've read the shit out of these and I'm hanging on to those. Here's a hardcover Michael Crichton book that I don't even remember reading, so we'll get rid of you. My aforementioned Jaws, The Hate You Give. This is such a fucking good book. I'm hanging on to that one. Okay, and then what do we got here? The last books on this shelf. We have LA Confidential, which you have, if you like the movie and you've never read the book is like 85 times more twisty and turny than the movie. 10 out of 10 recommend. I was not as big of a fan of The Black Dahlia. I read Wild once, and I don't think I'm going to reread it, but I'm glad I did. And then Choke by Chuck Palahniuk is a very good book, but another one I don't think I'm going to read again. RJ somewhere has my copy of Fight Club, and I don't know where it is. But that one will come with me once I know where it is. And that is 3 shelves of my books. The place where I was expecting to cull the most books. While I'm on the floor, let's just go through the books that I've got on the floor with me. I've got a bunch of them. The Girl on the Train. I read this once, and I was going to start reading it again and just couldn't get into it. So I think I'm going to donate that one. This Marie Antoinette by Antonio Fraser is fantastic. Absolutely keeping that. Me Before You. I just reread this again and I think I can let it go. The Barack Obama book. I am in the middle of it and I'm not getting rid of that. I'm actually going to keep that in here. And then the other Hyperbole and a Half book. Hang on to that and put it with the other one. And then this is a Stacey Abrams book that I don't think I'm going to get to right now, but I do want to hang on to. Lead from the Outside. And that is basically everything I can reach from where I'm sitting right now. So let me show you the work that I did. I think I have more books that I'm getting rid of than books that I'm keeping in this round. I'm so dusty. Books collect dust like nobody's business. All of these books on the floor. It's like a massive stack. That's the donate pile. And then this is the keep pile. The current situation. Empty bookcases, some boxes of donations, more boxes of donations, and then this stack so far of books I'm keeping that are getting packed up, and also the bro code is getting donated. Time to work on these shelves. Children's books. These are classics and random books that got stacked here. More of my historical fiction that's left over. I don't anticipate a lot from these two shelves, but the children's bookshelf is probably going to get at least somewhat dealt with. I took a quick break to rest because this is a lot of physical work for me. I need some more water. And I'm going to work on these right now. So we'll start on this top shelf with my historical fiction. I'm absolutely keeping all my Philippa Gregory books because I love my Philippa Gregory books, except for Whiteacre. I've never read that one and I don't really care. I'm also going to hang on to my Jeff Gwynne books and I am not going to leave them out to stage because I don't know if people want to come into my house and see that I have books on Jonestown and Charles Manson. My copy of Animal Farm, like I said, I'm keeping that. I'm going to hang on to my copy of Dune. I'm going to get rid of my copies of Outlander and its sequel and The Devil in the White City, which I never wound up reading. Although I'm going to put the Outlander books for sure on my little... Where's my phone? I don't even know where my phone is. Holy shit. I'm going to put Outlander books on my list for my Kindle. I tried, but I didn't. Alright, so I got a stack of books here. The Body is Not an Apology, so you want to talk about race. There's a couple of poetry books. Big Little Lies. I'm hanging on to all these. How the Other Half Learns. I have been in the middle of this book for quite some time, and I do want to finish it. So there's that. And then Stacey Abrams' book. And the sequel to The Devil Wears Prada, When Life Gives You Lululemons. I really enjoyed it. So hang on to it in case I decide I want to read it again. Okay. Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I know a lot of people love this book. I am halfway through it and I need to finish it, but I don't know if I want to, so I'm gonna hang on to it for now. But that one, oops, this is not my packing to keep box. Whoops. That would have been a problem. PKD Patience Manual. I'm just going to throw this away because it's outdated. Classics shelf. Hanging on to some, getting rid of others. Probably hanging on to most because even though you can check out a lot of these classics, there are some I want to hang on to. Like my Shakespeare. I have multiple Shakespeare plays. King Lear, Much Ado About Nothing, Julius Caesar, Midsummer Night's Dream, Antony and Cleopatra, The Tempest, Hamlet, Macbeth, As You Like It. Ooh, I have 2 copies of The Tempest. Well, that's one way to get rid of a book. And I've got 2 copies of King Lear, so we'll get rid of one of those. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead and The Crucible. Fucking love both of these. I'm going to get rid of The Scarlet Letter. Hanging on to A Raisin in the Sun. Keeping A Tale of Two Cities, which is the only Dickens book I really like. I'm going to get rid of Flowers for Algernon because I really do enjoy it, but it's not one I want to read again. Same with Pygmalion. The Stories of Eva Luna. And get rid of that one. Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. I've never actually read Jane Austen. I've tried. I can't. It's one of those things I want to more than I have. Keeping 1984 and Lord of the Flies. Island of the Blue Dolphins. And then The Alchemist can go in here. Hanging on to Joe's Boys. The Lottery and Other Stories. I'm keeping You. I'm going to get rid of The Great Gatsby. Although I think I don't remember, one of my kids is supposed to start reading that, so maybe I should hang on to it. Rebecca, love that book, keeping it. Same with The Grapes of Wrath. Same with my Flannery O'Connor stories. Hell, I'm not getting rid of those. I need to find out about this Great Gatsby, though. Old Times, a play by Harold Pinter. This is not the play by Harold Pinter that I love, which is The Birthday Party, so I'll get rid of that. I'm keeping my copy of Little Men and my copy of Little Women, because I love Louisa May Alcott. And then we have my final stack here. E.E. Cummings, best poet ever, Beloved. I'm going to pass Beloved on. I love that book, but again, it's one I'm not going to read very often. Keeping 100 Years of Solitude is one of my favorite books of all time. I'm going to pass on Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I'm going to keep Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana. And I'm going to pass on the Guide to Maupassant Tales, because as much as I read those in college, and I was not really, as much as I love other like supernatural fiction, that was not really my thing. Okay, we'll start with the easy ones. All of these Roald Dahl books are getting tossed into the giveaway box, except for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, and Matilda. Hanging on to those ones. I love all the other ones, but I don't read them often enough. But I have reread, and James and the Giant Peach, I have reread those books so many times, even as an adult, that I don't feel bad about it. I'm going to clean these shelves off really quick, because I think I'm going to be doing a lot of like staging of some of these children's books. These are a bunch of Jessie's children's books. So we'll put them here. And that way, for some of these that I don't know how many, like a lot of these are Christmas books. I don't know what he's going to do with a lot of them, but I'd rather let him make that that choice when he has the chance to look at it. Encyclopedia of Mythology. This shit is the jam. This is a kind of a UU children's book. There's a Charlie Brown Easter book. I don't think we need to hang on to that. Keep Aesop's Fables. These, The Polar Express and Santa's Twin, these books we're keeping, but they do not really fit in terms of staging. The Lion King. We're definitely keeping Marlon Bundo, but be safe political. I mean, it's not political. It's fucking Marlon Bundo. I've got a bunch of adult coloring books I can pass on. This is a book about monsters we can pass on. This is A Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. We're hanging on to that, but I'll put that away. We'll get rid of the children's dictionary. Each kid got one of those for free. Free to Be a Family is one of my favorites of all time. My mother used to read that to me. I'm assuming this time Star Wars Journey is something Jessie wants to hang on to. This is my book of Bible stories. It's a Jehovah's Witness Bible story book, and my uncle gave me a copy of that when I was a kid, and I was fascinated by it, so we will hang on to that, but pack it up. The shelf is done. I need to pack all those books up though, because all of them wound up just on my bed. Back on the floor again. This time I'm over at the other place where I keep my books, the thing underneath my TV, because I'm gonna need to stack books here, and I can't until I go through the books that are here. Most of these books that I'm gonna keep are gonna wind up in my office, so I need to just remember to write that on the box. So let's see which ones I'm gonna hang on to, which ones I'm gonna keep, and which ones I'm not. Let's just grab a handful and go through them. Hanging on to 5 Second Rule, hanging on to Getting Things Done by David Allen, hanging on to Big Magic. I'm gonna pass on Lean In. I think I borrowed that from somebody. How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind by Dana K. White's a good one. Oh my god, I'm covered in dust. Covered. Let's see what else we got here. The Extremely Busy Woman's Guide to Self-Care. No, I'm gonna get rid of that. I pass on French Women Don't Get Fat. I have 2 copies of Blog Like a Boss by Amy Schmittauer. Now she's Amy Landino. But one of them is an autographed copy that I got from her when I went to Creative Live, and one of them is not an autographed copy. So I want to keep the autographed copy. I just have to figure out which one that is. This is the autographed copy. That one's staying. This one I will pass on. Craft a Life You Love by Amy Tangerine. This is my autographed copy of that one. The War of Art. This is a great book that I like, so I'm gonna hang on to that. Passing on The Miracle Morning. The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a Fuck. Fucking love that book. And The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck and Ask Gary V. I'm going to pass on Ask Gary V. I think I enjoyed it when I read it, but no, you know, I'm going to hang on to it. And then we have some art books. This one is The Animator's Survival Kit. This is an excellent reference even if you don't animate. If you just want to draw people, like movement, it's an excellent reference for that. And I'm hanging on to that because that was pricey and I am not getting rid of that. And this is a copy book that I got from, I bought this, one of the authors was at the Go Wild business situation and I really enjoyed it. Hanging on to that, and I'm going to hang on to Profit First. Moving on. Moving on to more business books. The Graphic Artists Guild Handbook, The Ethical Guidelines. This is another one of those business books for me that is non-negotiable. It's an excellent book when it comes to fair pricing of art, like illustration work and such. Alright, what do we got here? A to-do list makeover, I'll pass that on. Being Boss, I'm hanging on to that. I'll hang on to Atomic Habits. I'm going to pass on Jab, 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 Right Hook. The Procrastination Equation. I'm going to pass that one on because I procrastinated on reading it. It's my copy of Good Morning, Good Life. Do I have 2 copies of this one too? I think I have a copy. Yeah, this is my autographed copy. Look at me, just trying to be all like, I know, like, I got names, people. Okay, this book is rad. This is a marketing, like, comic book. Your ad ignored here. Hanging on to that. Hanging on to Primal Branding. Hanging on to The Big Leap. I'm going to pass on Girl Code. I enjoyed it okay, but it's not really my thing. And I'm going to pass on Failure is an Option. I'm going to keep that. Failure is an Option. Jomo, the book by Tanya Dalton. This book frustrated the shit out of me. I liked parts of it, and there were other parts of it where I was really not a fan. You Are a Badass. I haven't finished this yet, but I think I'm going to pass on that one. The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. I'm keeping that, and Get Your Shit Together, which is awesome. Business Model Generation is another excellent business book. I'm about to get into some art books, which are also going to go into my office. God, I'm like covered in... This place collects a lot of dust. Are you going to be reading The Great Gatsby, or is it Cat?
Cat.
Okay.
Are you going to?
I've already read it.
We'll read it again.
I've read it again. So I'm going to save my lettering books. Oh, that was a bad idea. Okay, so I've got a broken glass situation here. I'm going to deal with that in a minute. So this is my other copy of Good Morning, Good Life, so that one will get given away. Can't Touch My Hair, Phoebe Robinson. Excellent book, but I'm probably not going to read it again, so pass that on. Keeping my copy of Heart Talk by Cleo Wade. Definitely keeping my Going Clear, my Scientology. Yeah, I'm keeping that. I feel like a lot of these social justice books are going to go somewhere else, so they're not going to go in this box. Oh, we've got a bunch of them. This one is Towards the Other America by Chris Crass. Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Sacred Ground. Twilight of the Elites. White Fragility. The Third Reconstruction. This book by William J. Barber. Chef's kiss. Assata Shakur's biography, The New Jim Crow, and Race Talk, which is a very academic book on the subject. Some poetry. My Better World Shopping Guide, I think it's out of date, so I'll move on with that. My Malcolm X autobiography, I'll hang on to. Lindy West's book I've read and I'm done with. And then this Two Whole Cakes I still have not read. I have read this one actually, and I'm going to pass that one on too. Covered in a bunch of stuff. Now that these boxes are done, I think what I will do is close up this one for my office and then go through my lettering books, put those into a box, and then I can stack the rest of the boxes that I'm keeping in front of this situation. All right, so I have all my lettering books and reference books in the next box for my office. I just have a handful here that are a couple of older ones I'm not really using anymore. This is the calligraphy handbook, an oil painting book, and a couple of older like watercolor books that will go to the donate pile. The rest will stay in to go into my office, and I will do a much more in-depth look at my reference books, my lettering books, once I've moved and I've moved into the new office. And I think I'm going to put some of these social justice books in with my lettering books just because the box isn't full and I'm not sure where those books are going to go yet. And just to wrap it up, there's some church related books I think I'll throw in there as well. I've just got like my church hymnals and a couple of books we read for church book clubs. I have other books that are not getting decluttered. They're not going to be taken like out, but I have a stack here. These are books that I'm going to bring over to my church. I'm really hitting a wall, you guys. I've got one Billy bookcase left. It's mostly Jesse's books. I might just have him go through it, but he's going to be like, oh, I don't want to right now. But it's mostly his books, you know, so I probably should. What I could probably do is make the other two shelves look hella staged and then leave his shelf alone and be like, okay, son, figure it out. I know for a fact, well, maybe not for a fact, but I do know that at this point I have decluttered at least a Billy bookshelf's worth of books. I mean, it's gotta be with the amount of, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boxes full of books. And another, well, these are more packed full, so maybe not, but like, if I go through what's left on this bookcase that's mine, I don't know how much of it I'm actually going to declutter because very little of it is actually mine. But I feel like I have done a fairly good job at reducing my books one way or the other. These 2 books I'm hanging on to, these are 2 of my absolute favorites. They are Queen Bees and Wannabes and Queen Bee Moms and Kingpin Dads. This one is the one that Mean Girls was based on. They're psychology books. It just started pouring again and then it stopped pouring. I have only a handful of books left to go through that I am going to be in charge of, and the rest I'm going to leave to Jessie, so I'm just going to take care of those right now, and then I think I'm going to call it quits. There's a lot to deal with in here though. So though I got rid of the Divergent series, I'm keeping the Hunger Games series because that is one I do like to reread from time to time. Getting rid of Dave Ramsey, I have decided I don't really care for him all that much. This one was from my mom, and this one was when the hospice gave us, it's called My Grandma's Gone to the Stars. Okay, this is an excellent book. Mary and Nestle's What to Eat. I'm wondering if she has an updated version. If she has an updated version, I think what I will do is buy it on Kindle. I can't tell if it is an updated version or not, but I'm going to put that on my notes and get rid of it. As much as I love it, it's a big heavy book. I've got a couple of Emily Lay's books and a Bowl Full of Lemons home organization book. I'm going to keep these, but I am going to put them out on the shelves along with Grace Helbig's 2 books. Got this David Sedaris book I'm going to pass on. Scary Mommy I'm going to pass on. Keeping Brain Droppings by George Carlin. It's a classic. The Lara Casey book, I'm going to pass that one on. Lily Singh's book, I'll hang on to that, but pack it up. Rad Women Worldwide and Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson, which is one everyone tells me I need to read, and I have it, but I haven't read it yet, so I'm going to keep that one. Plus a Salvador Dali book, my favorite artist, and our wedding guest book, of all fucking things. And I think that's all my books. Whew. So, yeah. Let's see the aftermath. Still a big mess, but I'm going to clean it up in a bit. So here are the bookshelves. As you can see, I have emptied and started to stage what's left. Everything left here is for my husband to go through. There are some tchotchkes I'm going to deal with, like in a bunch of my dead candles, but I'm going to worry about that later because I'm exhausted. Here are the books I am keeping but packing up. 8 boxes, 7.5 boxes. Save some room for some of Jessie's. All of these books are getting donated. And then over there, those 3 boxes also getting donated. So it's a lot of books. What I'm probably going to do is put it on Craigslist and say free books and put them out in the front yard. The last time we had a bunch of books in the front yard, people just came and took them. So I think that's what we're going to do. I'm exhausted. I'm covered in dust. But this was easier than I thought it was going to be. So thank you for hanging out with me while I declutter my books. I will be certainly showing you more stuff that has to do with decluttering and moving as the days go on. But right now I am going to go sit down, put my feet up for a little bit before I come in here and deal with the mess. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What is one book you will never declutter? It'll always be your book. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, peace.